Okay, hi class three. Hope you're all keeping well and safe. And thank you again to all the parents who have been doing so well, helping us all with the work online and the work that's pre-recorded like this one. So thank you. So today, class three, we're going to be looking at the Minoan Civilization and the work of Arthur Evans, which we'll be coming to just now. So just a quick piece of trivia for you. This building in the background is on top of an acropolis. So if you remember from our last lesson, a hill. And the building that you can see is the Parthenon, which is a Greek temple that was dedicated to the goddess of wisdom, which of course is Athena. So let's move on to our next slide. So what have we learned so far? So we've looked at the geography of Greece and how this has helped form its city-states. So what we've done with that is we've looked at the fact that Greece has 6,000 islands, and 267 of those are currently inhabited by humans, which means that humans have settled on that land. And we've looked at the city-states of Athens and Sparta, including the similarities and differences of the two cities. So have a pause of this video, have a think about which differences and similarities that you did spot. So we've also been looking at Greek myths and why we're writing them as well. And again, I need to emphasize that Greek myths play a very important part in learning about ancient Greece. Not only is it good for English, it's also good to learn how Greek myths play an important part in trying to find more out about the ancient Greeks. So this will introduce us to this man, so Arthur Evans. So he was born on the 8th of July, 1851, and sadly died on the 11th of July, 1941. So Arthur Evans was an archaeologist. So an archaeologist is someone who studies human history by finding old dig sites, physical artifacts as well, like coins or other objects. So Arthur, in his time in 1900, he and his team had discovered a building which would come to be known as the Palace of Minos, which within the palace he found a huge maze, which was known as the labyrinth. He discovered that this matched the Greek myth, where a labyrinth was built by King Minos to hide the Minotaur, half man, half bull creature. So some of you, if you've been listening to those podcasts from last week, you may have come across this one. Inspired by the myth itself, and knowing he stumbled across a lost civilization, he decided to call them the Minoan Civilization, which was taken away from the name of the Minotaur or Minotaur. So firstly, let's have a look at that key term. So what does civilization mean? So civilization means it's the society, the culture, and a way of life in a particular area. So the Minoan Civilization, so let's have a look very quickly at that image there. So look at the artwork that has been placed onto those walls. So what do you think we can learn from that? Have a pause of the video, have a think about what you think you could learn from that. Okay, so again, from the Minoans, we know very little about this civilization, but we can make an estimation that the Minoans were a very welcome seafaring people, and they had a strong connection to marine life, such as dolphins and fish. So the Minoan civilization is important to us because it was the first ever civilization that was created in Europe. So the very first kind of civilization that had ever settled in Europe before. So this is the reason why I thought this was a good thing to look at in terms of ancient Greece, because not only have the ancient Greeks got such a vast history, but they also have a civilization that literally starts at the beginning of where we are today. So the Minoan civilization had formed approximately in 3000 BCE, so before Common Era, and they lasted up until about 1100 BCE. So some believe the civilization may be the possible location of Atlantis. So for some of you who aren't aware of that, Atlantis was a famous civilization that was very advanced for its time. They were very good with their English, their writing, their maths, and then suddenly they were destroyed by a series of earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, and a huge tsunami that engulfed the city into the oceans. So many believe that the Minoans may be linked to the legend that is Atlantis. So here we have a quick picture of the Palace of Noos. And essentially, this is all that remains of the Minoan civilization. So we've got quite a few ruins here. And we can also see that the Minoans used quite a lot of paintwork with their temples. So it's a common debate among historians these days, where if we look at Greek statues and Greek temples, you may notice that they have no color. But in recent times, there is a debate that among historians that we believe that the Greeks did use color as well. And the Minoans have very much helped us with that argument. So here is an artist's impression. So this is what an artist has put together and thought what they think the Minoan civilization would have looked like at its time. So have a look, pause the video, have a look at what you think you can see. Note the wall art, note the clothing that they're wearing, the activities that they're doing. There's something going on in the background in that particular square. And obviously look at the artwork on the top right-hand side as well. So again, let's have a quick look at the map here. So the blue island that you can see there is currently the modern-day island of Crete. So I did say when we were first looking at ancient Greece back in the classroom that Crete would become very important for us to look at a later point. So the blue is the homeland of the Minoans, and all the land that you can see in highlighted yellow is where the Minoans have had their influence and left a footnote in history. So let's have a look at their trade and influence. So due to Crete being a large island in the Mediterranean, the Minoans had trading relationships with countries where, modern day countries such as Egypt or ancient Egypt, Syria, and of course the Greek mainland, as you can see there by the Aegean Sea. So their trade routes may have extended as far as Italy and Sicily. Materials traded were wool, timber, copper, tin, and bronze. So these goods made the Minoans a very wealthy and powerful people. The Minoans had then begun to spread their territory across much of modern-day Greece, as we can see in the yellow, and Turkey to help stop pirates from looting their island. There is very little evidence as well that the Minoans had any city walls or fortifications such as forts to build on ancient Crete. So this suggests that they were either no serious threats to the island, or more likely, because the Minoans were a very strong seafaring people, there was a possibility that they had quite a lot of patrolling ships to protect their coastlines as well. So what have we learned so far? So it's your turn to be an archaeologist now. So think in the shoes of Arthur Evans. So think about what skills we're going to need. So we're going to need to find and look at the evidence. We are going to need to describe the similarities and differences between the artifacts. We need to evaluate the usefulness of the artifact. So how useful can it be to tell us a story of what the past may have been like, and to help us learn more about the Minoans. We need to identify different artifacts that can help us learn more about the past. And of course, like storytellers, like in English, once we have all the information that we can gather, we know to piece together what may have happened as well. So now this is one of our quick tasks from the video. So we're going to have a look at these 6 artifacts. Yes, it's fine, don't worry. Sorry about that, guys. So yes, essentially there's 6 artifacts that I would like us to look at. Pause the video, have a think about how useful these could have been to the Minoans during their time. So we have a bull's head, or some sort of bull ornament. We have a wall art. We have some sort of Minoan coin. We have a vase, which has quite a nice decoration on there. And we have some sort of symbols on this particular one, on the hieroglyphs. And of course, we have another vase where we've got more art that's been painted onto the vase itself. So have a pause of the video. Think about how these artifacts could have been useful to Minoans and how it's helped us learn about their past as well. Okay, well done. So if you pause the video, you've had a look and thought about what these artifacts could have been as an archaeologist to learn more about the Minoan civilization. So firstly, the bull. So from what we can assume, the Minoans appear to have worshipped bulls during their existence, so believing them to be sacred. So there are still some countries in the world at the moment where bulls are still considered to be sacred. So when you can, maybe pause the video and go onto Google with a family member if you are able to, and find me a country that that consider bulls sacred as well. And of course, the myth of the Minotaur could well be where the story had originated from the Minoans. So the wall art gives us a glimpse into how the Minoans dressed and what items they used. The coin. So this, of course, shows someone of importance, much like our own coin today, where we have the queen as the face of our coins and currency, such as the sterling pound. So we believe this most likely could be King Minos himself. And of course, coins during the Minoan civilization would be used to buy and sell goods such as food and clothing. So the jug. This item shows us how the Minoans valued their items that they could use in their own homes, including how to make them look beautiful as well. So a vase like that one, or a jug, sorry, would be most likely to store wine. And this was a very important part of the Mediterranean diets, which in fact still is today. So if you head to different parts of Spain, southern France, and Italy, you'll still find that a lot of Mediterraneans like red wine with their meals, and it's a very important part of their diets as well. So this could well be an aspect of where the Minoan influence is still with us today. So the hieroglyphs. So hieroglyphs are a series of symbols. The most famous ones, of course, would of course be the Egyptian hieroglyphs, which thankfully have been decoded today, so we can translate what those mean. Unfortunately, the hieroglyphs that we were looking at from the previous slide, those sadly cannot be translated, so we still don't know what the Minoans are trying to say in that particular artifact, which, of course, as a historian myself, it makes me quite sad. And of course, the last one, the vase. So the Minoans were a seafaring people, and of course, the image they painted onto the vase shows how much they knew the types of animals and fish they may have come across during their time. And of course, the features and their detail of the art is very important to look at as well. So the Minoans, what caused their downfall? So we've got an image here just in the background. We have an island with what appears to be some sort of explosion that's just taken place. So this painting was, again, an artist's impression because we weren't there, sadly. And we don't have any recording of what happened. We've used scientific evidence to try and figure out what's happened to the Minoan people. So on the island of modern-day Santorini, there was a huge volcanic eruption which released millions of tons of ash, which began to kill the farmland and the crops. So if we think back to our geography unit from last term, we will know quite a lot of knowledge about what kind of dangers that volcanoes can bring, ash being one of them as well. So the eruption itself had then caused terrible earthquakes for hundreds of miles, destroying many towns and cities that belonged to the Minoans. And of course, the Minoans very much struggled to repair and kind of pick themselves up from that. Adding to this, after the island of Santorini had the eruption, parts of the island had then sunk into the ocean. So again, this is what it potentially could have inspired the legend of Atlantis, for as some of the population on the island was wiped out by the earthquakes and the tsunamis as well. And for those of you who aren't aware what a tsunami is, it's a giant wave that is created from a earthquake, and it builds in quite a vast height and can be very devastating if you're hit by one. And of course, shortly after this, many pirates and rival groups had begun to invade the Minoans because they were so weak from the eruption and because they had no city walls to protect themselves. So again, the Minoans quite showing their, possibly showing their arrogance there, really. So today's activity, in a similar to Christoph's story, like we're doing in English at the moment with Mr. Morris, I would like you to write a letter in the shoes of a refugee. So you are now in the shoes of a Minoan refugee. So your home has been destroyed by the volcanic eruption. So please see the downfall slide for help with that one. So in a rush, you could only pick up 3 sacred items before you fled. Which ones did you choose? And so the next one, I would like you to write about why and how you fled the island as well. So you are on the modern, you are on the Santorini island at this point. And lastly, I think it would be important to let us know why you've only chosen those 3 items and why you think those would help us to remember the Minoan people. So today's optional challenge task as well, I'd like you to draw an interesting part of your letter. For example, if you fled the island, what did you see when you looked back on your boat? So that's going to be all from me, Class 3. So thank you very much for listening into the video, and I'll speak to you all very soon. Take care.